We are live. Well, good morning and welcome to healthylife.tv. My name is Paul Bursey and my co-presenter is...
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Warren Connolly coming to you here from beautiful Hungary. Nice to have you here with us.
Absolutely. So, today's subject is what causes allergic reactions. So, I think my question to you, Warren, would be, have you had any allergic reactions at all? Reactions.
Yeah, I've been stung by a bee before.
Okay. Yeah, I remember being stung by a bee as a child.
Yeah.
And I know it hurt. That's about all I can say, really.
Yeah.
If you see me dabbing my face, I had a little shave before coming on air, and unfortunately, I cut myself. So I'm allergic to knives and razor blades.
I was going to say you have an allergy to razor blades.
Oh, absolutely. Anyway, let's get on with it.
Besides bee stings, I've most definitely had many allergies to different things. So we'll get through that at some point.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I actually, as I said to you before we started, before we came on air, I think that everybody's affected by allergens and allergic reactions. It's just that they're so small, we just bat them off without thinking about them, you know. But obviously, we know there are varying degrees of having allergies, and some suffer really, really badly. So, and just to sort of say that, what is it really? And it's an allergic reaction which occurs when a person's immune system becomes hypersensitive to a particular substance. And that can come from something like food, pollen, medications, or like we both had, bee stings.
Yeah.
Now, most allergens are harmless to most people. So that's good news. That doesn't really help someone who actually does suffer quite badly, of course.
Yeah, some people can die from bee stings, for example.
Yeah.
If stung by bees, they can die.
Yeah, you know about it then, and I'm sure there's other things similar to that cause problems. But anything can be an allergen, you know, and the immune system has a specific type of adverse reaction to it. So that's basically what we're talking about, and
this is basically what causes the allergy in the first place. So
yeah, absolutely.
Not specifically the external foreign body or pathogen. It's the body's reaction to that.
Absolutely.
That's what causes it. But we can end the call now. Boost your immune system, get your immune system sorted, and you won't have any allergies.
Well, you know, there is some truth to that, obviously. The role of our immune system basically is to destroy harmful substances within the body. It doesn't always work, unfortunately. We have a brilliant bit of kit in this immune system. However, some things are a little bit too strong and too fast for them, and get round the wall, as it will, get through the wall. So, yeah. So, okay. So the theory is that our immune system will destroy these horrible invaders that seek to cause us problems, and millions of people around the world experience allergic reactions every year. So now the reaction itself can lead to symptoms, as we well know. One of those symptoms will be something like swelling.
Yeah.
Now, if the swelling gets bad enough, it's life-threatening. Have you ever come across that?
Well, I mean, not that I can remember personally, but for example, my one brother got stung in the throat by a bee, in the throat, and that could have killed him because he couldn't breathe. You know, it was close. They had to ram something down his throat so that he could actually breathe. But other times, for example, some people can get bitten by a simple thing like a mosquito, and that can swell up because their body reacts to it, and it fights off that mosquito bite as if it was a pathogen. When it's really, I mean, mosquito bites are harmless unless, of course, the mosquito has malaria. But sometimes you get it when people have mosquito bites, and a simple mosquito bite turns into a massive sore. Because the body's constantly fighting that, and it's not able to heal, and then that person just scratches and scratches and scratches, and you get a big sore, especially with children. Happen quite frequently.
Yeah, I mean, at best they're unpleasant allergies.
Yeah, those are unpleasant.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been stung by blue bottles. I've been stung by all kinds of things, like, that can cause you harm. Okay, I've been many different things. Growing up in South Africa, I've been confronted with. If I had an allergy to any of those, I could have died.
Yeah.
Fortunately, my body was strong enough to fight off those external pathogens or poisons.
Well, we must get bitten by things all the time, and as I say, it does. Generally speaking, people don't usually experience a reaction, and that's why we get away with it so often. But just sometimes it all goes horribly wrong. Now, does the body have problems on the first occasion and very quickly? Well, that is quite rare. Okay, however, it does happen. It often takes time for the immune system to build up some kind of sensitivity. So it could be weeks down the line or months down the line. It could be a continual thing that suddenly takes over.
I can give an example of that. When I was a kid, I had actually two examples. One was food related, and I basically developed asthma as a result. Okay, which I managed to overcome myself, and then so I don't have asthma anymore. But I had the initial symptoms of asthma for about like a week to 2 weeks from a food reaction, and then also from a cat. I used to be totally okay with cats. I never had any problems with cats before, until one night a cat slept on my chest, and I woke up the next morning and I couldn't see, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't speak. Everything had just literally closed up. Everything. My eyes were completely swollen. I couldn't breathe through my nose. My ears were blocked. My throat was swollen. Everything just from one night of this cat sleeping on my chest. Whereas prior to that, I was completely fine around cats. No problem. So just like you say,
cat saliva, you said, didn't you?
Yeah, it's the saliva in the dander, in the hair. Yeah. So
yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah. And cats are licking themselves all the time.
Yeah.
It's a shame because I like cats.
Yeah, as we do. I've got one here at the moment who's just decided to settle down and been grief over the last hour. So I was really going to experience kicking the cat syndrome. No, I'm only joking. So the immune system. What the immune system does.
A very famous footballer got into trouble for that, eh?
Oh yeah, I'm only joking.
Yeah.
So with it's very hard when they look at you. It's very hard to get annoyed with them, really.
Yeah,
but so the old immune system, what it does, it recognises and remembers the allergen, the particular allergen that's causing you problems. And what the body does, it starts making antigens or antibodies. Sorry, antibodies, and so it can fight. So when the exposure occurs, you've built up this sensitization or whatever it is. And most times we get away with it. That's what happens. And yeah, but occasionally, we're sensitive to things, and it does come out. And I think the favourite one for me that I hear people complain about probably would be the pollen.
Hay fever.
Yeah, and that seems to be in the spring in the UK. I don't know what it is anywhere else, but April, May time. And some people, used to come to work and they were really suffering, and that's down to what you mentioned before we thought about this, and it was your idea, this Facebook Live. It was about histamine. People are, a lot of people are have problems with histamine, and hence that's why you take an antihistamine. But, we'll a bit later. So yeah, so what some of these things are seasonal. And hay fever is most definitely the one that I have had experience of from other people. Now, do I get it a bit? I get it a little bit, but I just bat it off. I mean, it's just like where some people could be suffering 60%, 70%. I probably have about 2 or 3%, so I just ignore it. So I'm lucky in that respect.
I think most people maybe have one or two little like episodes where they're sneezing from being outside in the springtime and that, but then their body just realizes it's not a threat. And then I think many people will have those little episodes, little, what do you call it, hiccups, where they're just sneezing every once in a while when they're outdoors. And that's a symptom of it, but their body fights it, or doesn't need to fight it, let's put it that way.
It's funny when I know that some people can really suffer severe reactions to things, and the thing that came to my mind when I was doing a little bit of research was Mrs. Doubtfire. Do you remember that?
The movie, okay.
Yeah, because didn't Robin Williams, didn't he put something in the woman that he was interested in her boyfriend's dinner?
Oh, okay. That was in the
I can't remember what it was. Maybe someone can help me. But
it was in the restaurant, right?
Sorry?
It was in the restaurant, or was it in the home?
Yeah, something like mushrooms or something like that. he knew he was allergic to.
Yeah.
And in the end, he galloped in like the hero and saved him by giving him the Heimlich maneuver. I mean, yeah, we laugh about that, but there's lots of people, that suffered really badly by nut allergies and things like that. And
this is why you can't take nut-based foods to school anymore.
Yeah,
it is so risky with nut allergens. Yeah.
I'm lucky I can go, give me everything. Doesn't matter about when you go and have what's the jab you get when you cut yourself and things like that.
Oh, tetanus.
Sorry?
Tetanus injection.
Yeah, any jabs. I mean, I'm not allergic to anything.
Okay.
That causes me a medical reaction to anything. So I mean, which is good. So let's talk about the symptoms. What do allergic reaction cause? What's the one in our business that we fight?
Inflammation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's inflammation and irritation. They go hand in hand. But the inflammation is the thing you need to be concerned about. It can get to such a stage where you can get an anaphylactic shock or anaphylaxis or whatever it is.
Anaphylaxis, yeah.
Yeah, and that's why people's throat starts to close up and everything. Now, the specific symptoms depend on the type of allergen, of course, and where do we get these problems? Whereabouts in the body can we get problems?
What do you mean in terms of the symptoms?
No, not but the symptoms. But what parts of the body get affected?
Oh, it's the gut. It's the gut area.
The gut area
and your glands, your glandular areas, your zones, glandular zones.
Skin is another one.
Skin, your eyes.
Obviously, with hay fever, we talk about the sinuses and the airways and the eyes and the nasal passages. So, there's lots to think about. And unfortunately, what we do, we react to things, because if we haven't had it before, it's not like we can do much preparation for it.
Reactory rather than preparatory. Reactory.
Yeah. So whether it's the dust, whether it's the pollen, whether it's actually food, it could be an insect bites that we spoke about. Could be medication. We just don't know what's going to cause the problem, do we? That's
until it happens.
So yeah. So let's get into the symptoms. And so what would be the symptoms for someone, or triggers, as it were? Be the symptoms for someone with dust and pollen? What would happen?
Oh, that would be sneezing and watering eyes, that kind of stuff. Itchy eyes, watering eyes, sneezing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There
Would there
might
be
even be
any?
some
Would there be any swelling in the eyes as well?
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, if your eyes are itching, there's going to be some swelling in your eyes in any case, right? Your eyes are not
Yeah.
going to just, there's going to be swelling there.
And also blocks and congested nose is another one. Yeah, maybe a cough. So as I say, you'll know you've got something wrong. Let's put it that way. and that to me is probably the one that I come across as more than anything else. But then if you then move on to food, there's lots of things that could happen to you. The symptoms. Can you think of some?
Um, Breathing difficulties,
Yeah,
skin lesions, skin rashes, itchiness in the skin, um, aching joints. These, you know, these can all, because that's depending on what the allergy is. You may
absolutely.
cause inflammation, of course, so your joints could end up aching over time as a result of that. And this is like, for example, why milk is another one that causes like mucus buildup a lot of mucus buildup either in your nose, in the nasal passages, or in your throat. So you're going to get symptoms there too from milk and dairy products.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, look, we can get you can also get swelling, as we've mentioned before. You could get swelling on the lips, anywhere on the face. Throat is a big one, obviously. Stomach cramps is another one. And this could be food poisoning, but some of these things overlap. And the other thing is with children, sometimes you get rectal bleeding, believe it or not. So there's lots. So a swollen tongue, maybe, but what happens is you have a change. It's a noticeable change most of the time. And you have to pay attention to this noticeable change, right? Don't ignore it. Be aware of what's going on. And if it starts to get worse, you've got to do something about it, Some symptoms are obvious. Other symptoms maybe not so obvious. So what about insect stings? What's going to happen there?
well, like I mentioned before, if you get insect sting, let's say it's from an ant or maybe a mosquito, you're going to get a little bit of swelling going on there. So for some people, it may be nothing really, but others, they can get some quite a bit of nasty swelling. Could be from a spider as well, like a spider bite. That can cause a lot of swelling because some people, their skin is just sensitive, and the body, and that's because we say the skin is sensitive, but it's the body's reactory system just responding to that bite a little bit more sensitively than other people.
Yeah.
If I get bitten, I don't really have any symptoms. You can see I've been bitten, and it might be a little bit of a redness. But if our daughter gets bitten by an ant or mosquito or something like that, she gets actual swelling around the skin or on the skin.
Yeah, I mean, you can also get restless, which I think if you're uncomfortable, that would be probably one of the things you may suffer from. Maybe your chest will get tight. There could be worst case scenarios, apart from the significant swelling, could be a drop in blood pressure. Which make you a little bit faint, maybe a bit dizzy.
If it's severe, then if it's not a severe thing, not many people are going to experience blood pressure problems unless it's severe, reaction to something.
So
and that's going to be quite a significant bite or sting.
And obviously, as we know, medication can cause problems as well. And again, every one of these things, as you go back to the fact you've had a change. I don't want to say a change of circumstances, but something within your body is changing. And as I say, some of it's going to be mild, so you might ignore it initially.
Yeah.
Whereas if it becomes more severe, then anaphylaxis can develop, obviously, and that is the most severest form. And it can be a medical emergency. I don't know how often there are medical emergencies that can be life-threatening, but and the trouble is we only hear about it when something bad happens, So And of course, it could be a change in heart rate as well. So again, it's now it could be the change in heart rate could be you having little palpitations because you had a bit too much caffeine. So that's why you've got to pay attention to it.
Yeah, but I think also if you start thinking about blood pressure too much and heart rate fluctuations too much, people are going to get they're going to get to the point where it becomes like you're over analyzing things because some people they panic a little bit, especially like children. If they get a bite and they see a bite somewhere, some children can panic, and then obviously their blood pressure is going to change. Obviously their heart rate is going to change. So you can't read too much into that, especially if it's a reaction from witnessing something, or noticing something. Like if a child sees a rash on their skin all of a sudden develop, like in the space of a few minutes, they might start panicking, or their parent might start panicking. They may be totally okay, and they go, "Oh, what's this?" And the parent starts panicking, and then the child gets panicky because they see the parent panicking, and then that's going to change things altogether.
Yeah.
And that can also highlight the reaction from the body as well, because as a parent, if you see a child having an allergic reaction to something, you want to stay calm, because the moment that you start to freak out, the child's going to see you freak out. Their body, their fight or flight response mechanism is going to kick in, okay? Because they're going to start getting fearful, so they're going to think something's wrong. So the body's going to kick in, and that's going to draw away from the initial problem, which was basically a mild allergy. It could be an allergy to the what do you call it? Like resin in plants, for example, like poison ivy.
Yeah.
A child could come into contact with poison ivy, which is just going to be a rash, a slight rash and an itch that a parent might overreact, and then next minute you've got a child that's overreacting, and the body's not able to fight the poison ivy because it's responding to the panic. You understand what I'm saying?
Panic and anxiety could double the effect.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You got to, as a parent, you got to be very careful with children and how you respond to the situation.
Yeah, I mean, people who may have a higher risk of allergies if they're under 18, believe it or not. Or if they have maybe they've got a personal family history of allergies, things like asthma and different things. That's one of the risk factors. And also, there is some suggestion that people born by cesarean section may have a higher risk of allergies because they've not been exposed to the mother's microbiome during childbirth.
Yeah, which is an essential part of the whole process of development.
Yeah, absolutely. And they seem to be doing more C-sections now. So,
well, C-sections has been for a very long time, has been it's the in thing to do, because it means that the mother can very often be in and out as quick as possible out of the hospital and recover, because of the way that the technology they have today with C-sections. It ends up being less painful for the mother in the long run. She doesn't have to go through all those childbirth pains and everything else.
yeah.
And because they can sew them up and they can heal much faster, there's less pain involved with in the long term, but also in the short term as well. So because once your vagina and your vulva and everything opens up like that, it takes time for that to come back again. So that causes issues too, in terms of they're having sex and toilets, urinary infections, a range of different things. So having C-sections is becoming very, very, it's the preferred choice in some cases. And it's unfortunate because, like you say, you're robbing that baby of that connection to the mother, not just from the biomes and everything to protect them and their immune system, but there's that physical connection that happens with a natural childbirth, as opposed to a C-section. But also, you mentioned something just now, Paul, and that's about, if your parents have allergies like asthma or whatever, this you could have allergies as well. The propensity to having allergies is genetic, can be genetic. In other words, if your parents have certain allergies, they can pass on that genetic gene to you to also be susceptible to allergies, but it doesn't mean you're going to get the same allergy. Okay? So
Yeah,
your parents could have allergies like asthma attacks or hay fever, and they pass on that genetic makeup to you, that gene, but you could have them have allergies to some foods. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean you have the same allergies.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
That's how that's the bottom line with that. And researchers just don't know either. They don't know enough as to why our body does what it does, why it causes.
they're still working on it.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, look, potential allergens can appear almost anywhere. That's the other thing as well. In theory, a person can have an allergy to any food, and that's just food. I mean, that's apart from anything else.
and then
And
you can develop allergies to food over time. I love the cat.
so I had a cat climbing up my back.
Yeah, trying to strangle you. I can see that. But
Yeah,
you can develop those allergies to food over time as well. So it doesn't, and certain allergy, food allergy is not going to necessarily be an immediate impact or have an immediate impact on you. For example, eggs or nuts or milk. You know, you can
yeah.
be okay consuming eggs, nuts, and milk, and then one day all of a sudden, boom, you notice you're eating eggs, and every time you eat eggs, you get certain responses to that. Okay.
Yeah.
But that builds up over time because a lot of people choose to eat certain foods in a certain way, prepared way. You know, like nuts, this is why I say to people, switch your nuts around. Don't just eat the same nuts all the time. Mix what you're having
Yeah.
with nuts. Because nuts are allergens, so you want to keep those allergens that each specific nut has in a balanced proportion in your body. You don't want to be overloading your body with certain, certain fat. But I think it's from the. I'm not sure if it's from the fat in the nuts or what it's from that causes the allergens.
It's
But
the
you're saying
nut oil, isn't it?
the oil, so the fats, yeah, the oil. So and
Yeah.
it's the same with the egg. So if you're going to have eggs, it's just make sure you prepare your eggs in different ways on a regular basis. Don't always have eggs prepared the same way. So
Well,
that
they reckon it's the white of the eggs that causes more problems.
and that's primarily just pure protein. So it's protein based. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but then again, so is gluten. Gluten's a protein, isn't it?
But there's no issue with gluten. It's how gluten is prepared. That's the issue with gluten.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what causes gluten intolerances, gluten sensitivity. It's because we're eating foods that contain gluten that gluten's been prepared in a certain way.
Yeah.
The construction of the gluten has changed.
Again, we go back to processed foods again, don't we?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so there's a little vicious circle going on there. You know,
of course. It's
I
designed
mean,
that way.
I don't think that I'm personally allergic to anything like eggs, fish, milk, peanuts, shellfish. I'm not supposed to eat a lot of shellfish, but wheat, soy. I don't eat much soy at all, so I wouldn't know about that. But we mentioned other common allergens as well. You mentioned about pets. Obviously, you've got the fur, you've got the dander. The dander is the something to do with the fur, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the saliva,
The mixture. Yeah, you've
yeah,
got skin flake saliva of the pet and all
yes,
that.
yes.
But there's another big one, isn't there? And that affects people who rent properties a lot of the time, and that's mold and mildew because maybe the landlord hasn't taken care of the property very well.
And
You know,
mites,
sorry.
mites, mite.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's like mites that you get like the dust, the poo from the dust mites, mustites.
yeah,
Yeah, dust. You get dust mites, and
yeah,
so the dust from the mites can also cause you. And if your home is full of mildew and it hasn't been cleaned properly, you most likely have mites somewhere in your home as well, and
yeah.
that can cause you problems too.
Anything that flies and crawls,
Cockroaches,
cockroaches, moths,
yeah,
and whatever. Some plant pollens obviously cause problems, even in the house. But
Mhm.
household chemicals, another one,
Yeah.
can cause problems.
Yeah.
Also, metals,
Like nickel or copper.
yeah, cobalt, chromium,
Oh, okay.
yeah, all that type of stuff. And there's another one as well that people don't think about very often, and that's latex.
Gloves, condoms,
Yeah, yeah,
outfits,
or gloves.
latex certain outfits. Yeah, yeah. Like
Yeah.
pants and things like that. Yes.
So if someone has what they think may be an allergy to something, what should they do?
Go see a specialist.
Absolutely. Hang on a sec. Hang on. Oh, I just noticed I had 1% left on my computer.
Good observation. There was a
Yeah.
timely moment. Well done.
Sorry.
As I said, that was timely. So well done on that.
Yeah. No.
Timing.
Just saw it.
Yeah. So if you notice that you have some allergies to certain things, and you may not even, especially if you don't know what it is, but even if you do know what it is, don't try to resolve the issue from home,
No.
unless of course it's very mild, and then you realize, hey, I had this and it caused that. For example, my mother one night, I'll never forget the story. She's passed on, so I can tell the story. I was in my early teens, and my mother was out one night for dinner with friends, and there was a guy at the dinner party, and he fancied my mom. So my mother wasn't feeling particularly well when she left, and he decided to follow her home to make sure she got home safely. Okay, and my mother had shellfish. She had crayfish,
Mm-hmm.
and it was probably the first time she had crayfish in her life. I think maybe I'm not sure, but it was it wasn't something that my mother regularly ate, and she was allergic to shellfish. And so she was driving home, and my mother had to stop the car, pull over. She got horribly sick and everything like that. And if it wasn't for this guy being there, she wouldn't have been able to get home. You know. But my mother never saw him again. She was so embarrassed. But that it can happen just like that as well. You just don't know. You don't. So if that's the case, then you should go to the doctor, of course. But if it's
Yeah. You start off with the doctor, and then you perhaps can go to see a specialist afterwards if that doctor's not specialised enough.
yeah.
So they're going to ask you lots of questions as a doctor, and they're interested in symptoms, how often they are, what seems to cause them, if there's any family history which we've spoken about, and whether anyone else in the house has got it. The same thing. So that will give them an idea. It will cut it down. If other people have got it, it will cut it down.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they may order some tests. There's some simple tests that they can do: blood tests, prick tests, patch tests, or whatever. And so, yeah, and then we move on to the medication side of it. Now, hopefully, you don't get to that part where you have to have even over-the-counter medications, but you should speak to a professional. I'm not going to go into what they are. Obviously, the top two that I've come across would be antihistamines and decongestants. So, but there are other ones for other allergens, and of course then you've got things like EpiPens, or what epinephrine auto injectors as they're called. But
Okay.
yeah, so but again, that's going down. I don't want to go too much down that, but there are alternatives, and
Also, in many cases, like when people have allergies to certain things, and then they're taking this medication, or like this epinephrine pen, EpiPen, these kinds of things, you know, you've got to sort out your health first before depending on these things. Because
yeah,
it's just like I tell people, if you get indigestion, and you know what eNose is, the effervescent tablets that people take when they have indigestion.
mm-hmm.
And then it helps them to settle the indigestion and that, and so they don't have that heavy feeling, and they're not burping all the time and whatever else. I say to people, just cut out what it is that's causing the indigestion. Don't take an enos or something like that to counter that, because that's your body's natural way of responding to what you're doing to it. You understand? So if you go stand in a field field full of flowers and you have hay fever, you must expect to sneeze. But don't take an antihistamine before you go to prevent yourself, because your body's still going to be impacted by that. So your body's still going to be fighting. So you need to let it happen.
It should reduce the problems.
It should, of course, but what I'm saying is that this is a natural response for your body. So what you're essentially doing is you're countering what your body's naturally designed to do. By taking something that is like that, rather stick away from it altogether. Don't change what it is that you're doing and boost your immune system. Fix your health. Don't. It's the same thing. Like, it's a natural. Why people turn to medicine so much, because rather than stopping what's harming them, they'll just take the medication so they don't feel the pain. I don't understand. Yeah, for me that's not logical, because our body's designed in a certain way, and by countering what your body's, stopping your body doing what's designed to do, because you just want to be able to do what have foods that you want to eat, discounting the fact that it's harming your body, then that doesn't make sense for me. That doesn't make sense. As a wellness professional, that's like banging your head against the wall and expecting a different reaction, other than a headache and a migraine. It's just cut it out. If you figure out something's wrong, stop doing it. Don't take medication for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can prevent things. You can be cautious. Look, there's no way to prevent a cure. Sorry, there's no way to prevent or cure an allergy. However, there are some things that you can do to prevent it being much worse than it can, really can get to. So you have to take those measures. Maybe it's wearing a medical alert bracelet.
Yeah.
If you know about it. And putting yourself in a position where it could happen. Maybe you need to do some allergy testing. You can be tested for everything.
Can you imagine if it's you're a hypochondriac and you get tested for allergies?
No, you don't have to be. I'll get it, but you don't have to be a hypochondriac. But it's just, it's making life just a little bit more bearable. And the other thing is, it can happen at any time. All this.
Yeah.
So it could be that you could go for years by walking in amongst the flowers, and all of a sudden it appears out of nowhere, and where does that come from? It's like, so I don't know. But
when was the last time you saw somebody with a bracelet?
I haven't seen anyone with a bracelet for a long, long time.
Yeah. Strange, eh?
And it makes it obvious. It's like if I was allergic to penicillin, which I'm not, but if I was, then maybe I'd think about wearing a bracelet.
Yeah, I think if you have an allergy to penicillin, if you have an allergic reaction to penicillin, I think that most people that do have that condition do have a medical alert bracelet.
Yeah.
I think most of them do. Because that is a life and death thing. That's seriously,
it's like nuts. Nuts can be as well. And so, depending on who you are. But well, I wish anyone who's got a severe reaction to things that they don't get really badly affected and are aware enough not to put themselves in that position.
And if you do, and you're watching this or listening to this now, share with us, like, what is it? What is your condition? I mean, don't be shy to share what your conditions are, because that information can help for somebody else, perhaps. And share with us what it is that you do to prevent those symptoms from flaring up. If you have an allergy to something, or if you know somebody that has an allergy, and share this information with them, please. Make sure that they hear this information, so it can put their minds at ease as well as it could, perhaps. We don't have the answers to everything here, but I think what we shared on this podcast today is pretty informative.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not a complete thing by any means, and it's just to give you an idea of what can happen. Hopefully not. What to do, maybe. What to avoid.
Yeah.
It's also knowing yourself as well. That's one of the biggest things. you know. And I mean, I've got 3 autoimmune diseases, but none of them are. You know, I look after myself a little bit, so none of them are a real problem. However, if I was to develop a nut allergy and didn't realise it and stuff my face full of nuts like I do, you know, something else could happen, couldn't it? So it is about awareness. It is about reading the signs that your body's giving you and finding out, not sticking your head in the sand, going seeking the answers from a professional and trying to stay safe in this world. So if you've got any questions to say, ask us and we'll find out the answers if we don't know. And with that, unless you've got anything else to say, Warren, we'll call it a day.
Yeah, I think we can call it a day. I think it's pretty safe to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
That's one.
All right. Anyway, everyone, I hope you have a great week. See you next week, next Wednesday on healthylife.tv. And I wish you all the success you're willing to work towards and all the health you're willing to work towards as well. So stay healthy. We'll speak soon.
Make health important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. See you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.